the founder of the Transformational Breath Foundation and the co-developer of the Transformational Breathing Process. 35 years ago, it was the tool that I feel healed a throat cancer. And the throat cancer was something that I had to choose how I was going to approach working with it. At that time, I knew a little bit about integrative breathing, and my guidance was to use the breath and the other knowledge that I had to heal the tumor. And so within a few months after working with the breath every day, I was really amazed to find that the tumor was gone, and so thankful. But it was an important moment because I knew at that moment that the breath would be an important role in my life. After seeing what it could do for me, I knew it could do that for others. So what happens with our energy when we open our breath is quite amazing, because when our breath is open and flowing, then we're in the flow of life, because life is flowing in us. So we have the ability through transformational breath to get fully grounded in life and anchored and express in the world. And then we also have the same ability by opening our breath in the upper aspects to connect more fully with the higher dimensions, our spiritual nature. So we can be touching the heavens and grounded in the earth and really experience the fullness of being a spiritual human in this world at this time. The gift we have is that we use the breath, and the philosophy behind it is that we use the breath and we work very specifically on each of these levels. So it allows us to experience our multidimensionality. It's inclusive of who we are, and it allows those areas of our life to function in balance and harmony, our physical, our mental, emotional, and our spiritual. So it's about recognizing our wholeness and creating balance and harmony on each of those levels. First part, on the physical part, is that we understand the dynamics and the aspects of an open, clear breath, and we know how to create that in any individual, because people don't breathe openly and fully, and in order to really maximize the benefits of breathing, you need to be able to access and use your whole respiratory system. So in TB, transformational breath, we go in there and we look at the way a person breathes, and we coach them, we help them in opening up their whole respiratory system and allowing them to freely breathe in and to really let go of their breath. We use the breath very specifically, the energy of the breathing pattern that we use very specifically to access suppressed material that is stored in the memory cells in the subconscious. And this works on principles of physics, high energy and low energy. So the breath we bring in is a high energy, and it addresses the lower energy patterns in our electromagnetic field and causes them to vibrate at a higher rate. So this has the ability, which is amazing, to access negativity in our subconscious, old feelings, memories, and permanently clear them from our subconscious and energetically be free of these lower vibrational patterns. And then spiritually, so wow, that's a lot, but then if that's not enough, spiritually, the breath is this amazing tool for us to be able to access higher levels of consciousness. So as we open our breath and we clear the subconscious, then that creates a freedom or an opening to higher levels of consciousness, which happens in our breathing sessions as well. So not only do we get to access higher levels of consciousness, but we get to bring that awareness into our physical and human experience. So we have the ability to tap into other dimensions, spiritual realities, and then we bring our spiritual nature and expression more fully into our physical life. We work with invocation. And invocation is a way of connecting with the higher dimensions, with the spiritual beings who are available to work with us anytime, anywhere, not just transformational breath people, but all of us, and to invoke their presence and their energy into the experience of transformational breath. And this takes the breath work to another dimension, because from that place, anything is possible. That when we invoke the presence of angelic beings and masters of light and the breather's higher self, then we're calling forth these amazing spiritual energies that assist us in this work, and that's where the miracles can happen. The main reason we begin transformational breathing with the mouth breathing has to do with that when we begin this process, we begin by wanting to breathe in the lowest parts of our respiratory system. So mouth breathing actually accesses the lower parts of our respiratory system. We also want to bring in the greatest volume of air, and the mouth allows that. We want to begin from the lower up. So it's the natural evolution is from the bottom up. So we bring the breath low, and then the breath brings itself up. And then when we exhale, it goes from the top to the bottom. So bottom up. And it's like a wave. It's like a perfect wave. We also work with what we call a connected breath, and this is the key component to creating this high energy vibration that creates these energetic shifts in our electromagnetic field. So a connected breath is basically you breathe in, emphasis on the inhale, relax, exhale, and go right back into that inhale without any pauses, and get right into that exhale without any pauses. And this creates a very specific energetic pattern, vibrational energy that allows us to create energetic changes. So not only are we working with a full diaphragmatic breath, but then we're keeping the inhale and exhale connected. Breathing in, emphasis, exhale, relaxed. Magical. So we do use a lot of other modalities in transformational breath, and I think that is such a gift to be able to use. For example, one of the biggest ones and most important ones is we work with sound. So the philosophy behind sound is the same as breath, being able to entrain the lower energies, and also to express when breathing is not able to move the energy, and to allow the sound to move the energy. And we also work a lot with our hands, which we are the only breath work where there's hands-on in a lot of it. One of the ways we work with our hands is that we work with muscles that influence the mechanics of breathing. So our respiratory system works in a certain way using the diaphragm and relaxing the other muscles in the body. And sometimes tension builds up in the diaphragm or in these other muscles. So we work specifically with pressure on those muscles to help them relax, to free up the respiratory system. And this can be throughout the whole body. We also use our hands in another way, in that we have a system called body mapping, where there's actually points in the body where we hold on to very specific issues. For example, this point here is about compassion, and this point here is about our higher will. And so we work with those using acupressure to activate those issues that are stored in the cells from the past, and then the breathing actually integrates the energy that gets stimulated. So we work on the different points in the body, and this is to basically take people deeper into their process.
I spent my whole life working in the army, and that's a complete different world.
In one day, in one session, in 5 minutes, everything is possible in this work, and this is, wow, it's really, all I can say is you can do it with everybody.
When I look back to the person I was before I met TB, I was pretty angry and all day moving around, shouting. Yes, I was a completely different person. And now I have completely peace in my body and in my mind. I'm satisfied, and yes, it's so a huge difference.
My first breath session was really disappointing because it became so obvious how I really couldn't breathe. And I thought, oh, am I ever going to get this? And that's part of the reason why I've just continued. I'm holding everything I do with a different consciousness.
Breathing analysis is actually a science that we developed in transformational breath that correlates the way an individual breathes to what's going on in their life. For example, some people are lower respiratory breathers and they just breathe in the lower parts of their respiratory system. They're strong-willed, they're grounded, they're protecting their emotions in their heart, and they're basically disconnected from their spiritual aspects if they're just breathing down here. Then there's a mid-breather, which we call a superachiever breathing pattern. And this is about someone who has to do it all, who's a perfectionist, who is a great achiever, but they lack trust. They lack trust in actually things happening without them doing it. So they're always kind of on top of maybe even a type A personality is this superachiever. So by breathing just here, you're not allowing the flow of life, the greater flow and the smaller flow, the ebbs and flows of life to happen. And so we're able to, by opening their breath, allow them to trust more and to be able to relax and just let things happen. And then we have the upper chest breather, and this person is very connected and very loving, but they're not grounded. They're not in their bodies, they're not having the focus and direction or the willpower to carry out the mission of the heart. Breathing analysis is really a map of our relationship to the life force. It's about helping an individual change their life by helping them change their breath. As someone opens their breath, their life will actually change. The first thing is just to become aware of how do I breathe? Put our hands on our chest and our lower parts of our body and to take a few breaths and just see are my hands moving, and that'll indicate to you where is the breath going in my respiratory system. When we're using our diaphragm, our lower abdomen and belly will expand, and when we're also using the diaphragm and we're free in here, then the chest should expand too. So it's a good way, okay, let's check in and see how we breathe. So maybe we can get comfortable together and close our eyes for a minute. Take about 3 deep breaths. Just take a deep breath. Pay attention to the muscles that you're using. What moved in your body? Did your belly go out? If not, then you've got to learn to use your diaphragm. Did the middle part of your solar plexus come out? If that did, then you need to also learn to use your diaphragm better and breathe deeper. And just not try so hard to breathe, but just let your breath come in. And then, did your chest go out? If your chest went out all by itself, then you really need to work on using your diaphragm and getting your breath lower and then allowing it to come all the way up. So the first thing is like being aware of your breathing and really getting to know your diaphragm and working with those muscles almost exclusively, or at least as the initial or the first muscles that we use. There can be secondary muscles that we use, but only secondary. For example, using your diaphragm and then maybe bringing the breath up a little higher with these muscles as well, as long as it's a single open flow. Maybe lie on your back or sit in a chair comfortably and feel your diaphragm, the muscle, the fibrous muscle tissue that's along your rib cage here attached. Feel your diaphragm and just practice breathing with that alone. Think of nothing else. So you're going to breathe in and relax. Breathe in and relax. And let's continue that for a few moments. So, what if when you just tried to do that diaphragmatic breathing, it was still really hard to engage your diaphragm or get your breath really low? Well, there's another exercise that you can do that will help build the diaphragm, that will help you begin to use your diaphragm. So what we want to have you do is lie on a hard surface on the floor. You can put a blanket or a sheet down, and you're going to lie on your stomach, and you're going to put your arms out to your side and turn your head to the side, and you're going to feel the pressure on the front part of your body. And then you're going to go ahead and begin to breathe in and out through your mouth. And this hard surface is going to create a pressure or resistance against the diaphragm and cause it to start kind of waking up and being used. It will automatically start to use. And so without even having to think about it, this is a way of stimulating the diaphragm. And so you can practice that for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and really feel the motion of your breath going low into your body, low into your respiratory system. And then you can go ahead and begin to do the sitting up exercise and see if the breath actually came down into the lowest parts of your respiratory system.
I had become a little sedentary and inactive in my retirement. When I went through the transformational breath process, I found that a whole lot of new energy was in my body, and I was moving a lot more.
Physically, I've transformed, breathing into my belly, feeling more connected into my breath. Emotionally, I feel I'm able to process through things much quicker. And spiritually, I feel fully connected and free in so many ways.
I'm leading the hike, and I'm running up the hills and doing things, and he looks at me and he says, "Who are you? What are you doing? I mean, where did this come from?" Right? I said, it's breathing. It's about breathing. It's about breathing.
So what do we do when we're in a stressful situation with our breath? You probably know that answer, but we stop breathing. We pull away. And when we feel the stress and we don't breathe into it, guess what? The stress becomes part of our being. The stress is now locked into our body, locked into our emotional field, and we have another layer of stress. What you could do is when you feel stress or anxiety or fear or anger, you could take some of these diaphragmatic breaths, maybe for a minute, maybe for 30 seconds. Just breathe into it and allow the energy to move. To develop that a little more when we're in a stressful situation, we can just remember to breathe. And maybe it's just 1 or 2 breaths. Maybe that's all it's needed to just detach a little from what's going on, to pull back, to realize we're not our feelings. We're just, these feelings are coming up, and to take a few breaths, and if that's not enough, just take a few more breaths. But you're also giving the space to really feel that emotion, because usually the emotion doesn't, even though it's triggered by the outer experience, it's usually not all about the outer experience. So if you breathe and you allow yourself to be with that emotion, then it has the ability to integrate in that moment rather than become part of us and then us having to deal with another layer of that emotion down the road. Or even make a sound. When I would get upset with my children, I would just go, ah, tone, and they think I was crazy for one thing, but it moved the feeling that I was feeling, and then I could really be there and respond rather than react with them. When I work with someone and they're going through emotional integration, just to honor that space completely because of the sacredness of our feeling and the proximity of our emotions to our spiritual self. So to give that space and acceptance of our feeling nature, which we have for most part as humans shut down. So when we access it and begin to feel our feelings, to really honor that space and to know that when we are really feeling something, we're right there, we're at the doorway to God or to Spirit.
I had a nervous breakdown 3 years ago, and I start searching.
I'm a psychologist, and I'm also trained in Gestalt therapy, in hypnosis, in autogenous training, in a lot of in a lot of therapy and methods, I always missed something.
I came in contact with TB and it blew my mind. What it did to me, it made me peaceful inside. It made me feel more joy.
This is the work I want to do the rest of my life.
I had absolutely no idea what it was. Of course, had looked at it on the web and I thought, breathing, how hard can that be? Well, boy, did I know.
So what are some of the common mistakes of the exercises? I think one common mistake is trying too hard, because what most people don't realize is our breathing is very natural. We see a lot of this, people utilizing their backs, their bottoms, their shoulders, their head, their neck, and none of these muscles are necessary to breathe. And so part of our job is like relaxing these compensatory muscles so that they can use the real muscles. They've been compensating with these muscles because their body's not getting the air, so they try harder and use more muscles, and basically it doesn't help. So if we can just relax and use the diaphragm, we'll get all the air. People can go up to full lung capacity just using the diaphragm in one in-breath. So another mistake, or just say things people do initially that we need to correct, has to do with the position of the mouth. A lot of times we hold tension in our jaw, and so people try to breathe with their mouth kind of closed or their jaw really set. So in transformational breathing, we help people open their mouths, remind them to open their mouth as fully as possible, like that, and that allows not only a greater volume in, but it also relaxes the jaw and allows us to be free of any of those feelings that we're controlling with that tight jaw. People either try to control the exhale or blow it, and both of these are indications in breathing analysis of controlling the flow of the negative. When we push it, we're fighting it, and once again we're basically creating that hyperventilative state because we're lowering the CO2, and that's not what TB is about. And then of course controlling it. Many people do yoga, and part of the yogic breathing pattern is to kind of control the exhale and squeeze it out, and that creates a lot of tension in the midsection in our body, so we don't want to do that either. So that's another mistake people make, is what we do with our exhale as well. So we want to just let that breath come in using our diaphragm as openly and fully as we can, and then we just want to relax the diaphragm and let the air flow out. And that's all. It's so simple.
I've been teaching yoga for the last 20 years. So if somehow you could combine yoga, the traditional yoga, you could combine it with transformational breathing, you would have a great system. Just about anything can be complementary to transformational breath, because
all the breathing does is intensify anything we experience. So life, acupuncture, chiropractic, polarity, Reiki, anything you do, if you're doing it with more energy and life force behind it, it's going to enhance it. So there's no limit, there's no limit. There isn't anything that I can think of that isn't improved when people have more energy and more breath and more aliveness. So it's something that maybe you're not doing transformational breath while you're doing these things. And for example, one of my trainers has a hypnosis school, and she finds she can bring people into hypnosis like that through the breathing. So she has integrated transformational breath into the hypnosis process. There are a number of people who do body work who have been trained in transformational breath, and they have their clients breathe while they're getting a massage. Guess what? The energy moves faster, and patterns of tension that are chronically there don't come back. So I could go on and on about different ways that transformational breath can be brought into other modalities while they're being done. And it's, it just can be very vast and very varied.
In the pharmaceutical industry, I work with cancers. I work in development of new cancer medication. So I have access to a lot of literature that has to do with cancer. And with Judith's story, I really wanted to know. And the great thing is, there has been a lot of research, and there has actually been a Nobel Prize winner who showed that when you bring oxygen to cancer cells, that they will die. Cancer and many other illnesses actually do very well in an oxygen deprived surroundings. So you could actually theoretically say that if you would bring in more oxygen, that would help the body heal. This is what we see with transformational breathing.
So the diseases and psychological problems that, or I like to call them appearances or symptoms, because we don't like to buy into a lot of conditions, are very, very big. And I don't want to get out of my field. I'm a breathing expert, and I'm not going to be treating medical conditions with the breath. But just about any condition can become healthier when you bring more oxygen and more energy into the situation. So over the years, I've seen responses to very serious physical conditions, lots of anaerobic diseases. So I've seen it with conditions of tumors, chronic fatigue, hearing problems, migraine headaches, chest problems, just lots of things. I mean, you can just go to every part of the body, and when that part of the body is getting the proper energy flow and life force, it's going to function better. It's just a principle of life. Psychological conditions, people definitely post-traumatic stress, panic, anxiety. I've worked with specialty cases of split personalities, schizophrenia, manic depressive, different ones, and definite improvements with all. Before we work with someone with a psychological condition or label, we make sure they're working with a therapist, and we talk with the therapist so that we have the support on the other levels that might be required in accessing very big, deep psychological splits or disassociations.
I sometimes feel that in medicine we're actually really missing a very, very big point. And this is about working with our emotions and things that we have stored in our subconscious. We tend to deal with the illnesses. When we treat patients, and even with cancer, we know that it can recur. And I think we're really missing the boat if we're not working with the emotions. And this is the thing that makes transformational breathing so powerful, according to me. And this is why I like it very, very much. You really get to work with the core issue that's underneath it. With a couple of sessions, you can make such an enormous difference.
I felt satisfied working as a pulmonologist to quit my job, and just now I start becoming a coach and trainer for TB. My mission is now to bring TB to medicines.
But I see how much this offers, and Judith talks about it being the most powerful tool for transformation on the planet at this time, and I so want to be part of that transformation. It's really meaningful to me, and I can see how this can really serve that purpose.
My vision of TB came in a long time ago. It came in when I realized that I had received this miracle through the breath. And my vision is the same, is to have the world experience transformational breath. It shifted because I thought I could breathe the world, but what I realized, I can't breathe the world, but I can train people to breathe the world. And that's our training school, Transformational Breath, personal and professional training programs, where we let you have your own transformational experience in the personal seminar. And then the next level is to become a facilitator so that you can share this amazing work with the people in your life. So my vision is to see beautiful breathing centers around the world, sacred spaces where people can come and enjoy all the beautiful energy, tools, and beauty that we have to share on this planet, and to have a beautiful sacred space to come and breathe and really feel safe and surrender. So we're going to have beautiful breathing centers around the world and lots of loving facilitators to support everyone receiving this gift. It's possible.
More energy, really a lot more energy, which at my age is wonderful.
I'm just enjoying better overall health. I'm able to ride bikes again, so I'm able to play more with my family. It's been really wonderful.
A step into a life I really want to live. It feels right and it is right.
Continue to have new openings and new revelations every time I do a breath session.
I could feel the love present around me.
I felt all the love I was always looking for, and I started crying. It was so wonderful to be together in this room. And then I had thought, like, yes, everyone can create something like this.
I can only say it's brought me joy, it's given me passion back, it's given me peace of mind. So I can only say to everybody I know, breathe.